One night, Kana was conducting an investigation while hiding as if she were spying on something. Matsuri and her friends ran past the area. Not long after, Kana noticed a suspicious transaction involving members of the General Affairs Department and the Security Department, so she quickly took photos as evidence. When the transaction ended and both parties left, Kana immediately climbed down and began walking home. Unexpectedly, someone in a nearby car had noticed her. While Kana was checking the photos she had just taken, she realized that the Security Department and the General Affairs Department were secretly working together. A black car drove toward her, and Kana thought to herself how cheap the price of justice could be. She was convinced that if the photos were made public, one of the organizations would be exposed. The black car suddenly struck her, and the girl driving the car took the memory card from Kana's camera before fleeing the scene and leaving Kana behind. The next morning, the alarm in Chisado's room rang loudly. Chisado quickly got up and opened her curtains to greet the new day. She changed her clothes and prepared to leave for school, while Yuki was still sound asleep in his room. Chisado walked to Yuki's room and found him still fast asleep. She lay on top of him playfully, which startled him, and tried to wake him up since it was already late, but he refused to get up. Chisado kept shaking his shoulders, wondering why he would not wake up even though his cheerful childhood friend was already trying to rouse him. Because Yuki continued to ignore her, Chisado hugged him and rolled him off the bed onto the floor. She sat on top of him and teased him by asking if he liked being woken up that way. Chisado reminded him to hurry and get ready so they would not miss the morning train. Suddenly, Chisado noticed something on Yuki that startled her, causing her to scream in surprise and slap him out of reflex. Later that morning, Chisado and Yuki walked to school together and met Mifuyu on the way. Mifuyu believed that Chisado and Yuki were truly close since they were always together. Yuki jokingly asked if Mifuyu could still say that after seeing the red mark on his cheek. Mifuyu commented that the slap must have hurt and wondered what Chisado had done to him. Chisado admitted that she slapped him because he showed her something strange, but Yuki claimed it was just an accident. Mifuyu gently touched Yuki's cheek and told him she hoped the pain would fade soon. Yuki was so touched that he hugged Mifuyu and said she was always so kind, unlike Chisado. Playing along with the moment, Yuki dramatically declared that he loved Mifuyu and asked if she would be his girlfriend. Mifuyu thanked him warmly but said she had already fallen in love with someone else. Yuki was shocked to hear this, and Chisado commented that Yuki should have realized his feelings sooner, that it was already too late. Mifuyu encouraged Yuki to stay strong, believing he would find true love someday. Their playful scene ended up drawing attention from people passing by. Yuki, Chisado, and Mifuyu were all high school students. Mifuyu remarked that it had been a long time since they acted out a little play like that, but Yuki thought such antics were not appropriate for public places. When they arrived at their club room, Yuki noticed Mikuru bending down as if she were looking for something. He greeted her and asked if she had lost anything. Mikuru said she was just doing her usual routine. Before long, Chisado lightly tapped Yuki on the head for grinning in a way she found suspicious, suspecting he was having silly thoughts. Mifuyu then asked what Mikuru was doing. Mikuru stood up and simply said the word pink. Hearing that, Yuki jokingly asked if Chisado was wearing something pink, but Chisado quickly denied it and said her clothes were actually light blue. Just then, Nozomi arrived and greeted everyone, asking if Yuki had been scolded again. Yuki explained that it was all just a misunderstanding. Ei came in and teased Yuki for never studying as usual, followed by Ki, who called him silly in her usual way. Yuki insisted he had done nothing wrong, but Ei and he ignored his protests and began pulling various snacks from the shelves. While Nozomi opened another shelf, she was surprised when a pile of candy spilled out. She realized she had forgotten to turn off her candy-making robot, which she had named Amataku Mig-3. Ari and Ki tried to help clean up, but ended up slipping instead. A little while later, Oboro entered the room and was amazed by the sheer amount of treats scattered around. After they finished tidying up, Oboro showed everyone a new line of snack products made by the Umection Company. Ki expressed her envy that Oboro always received so many snacks from her family's company. Ei teased Yuki by saying he could eat as many snacks as he wanted if he married Oboro. Yuki was puzzled by how the conversation suddenly turned into talk of marriage. Oboro sat next to Yuki and asked what he thought about her suggestion. Yuki, still confused, wondered what Oboro was even talking about. Oboro clarified that they were really just discussing the chance to taste as many of the new snack sticks as they wanted. Chisado then suggested everyone try the new flavor of the snack sticks together. Oboro asked everyone to taste the snack he made. Ari and he immediately tried it and agreed that it was delicious. Oboro smiled and took note of their reactions, then asked Michiru for her opinion, but she simply said it tasted ordinary. When it was Yuki's turn to try it, Oboro seemed curious about how Yuki would eat the snack stick. To his surprise, Yuki broke the stick in half, which made Oboro wince in discomfort. Oboro could not understand why Yuki did that. Suddenly, Chisado took a small piece from Yuki's leftovers and tossed it into the air, intending to catch it with her mouth. Before she could eat it, Yuki quickly caught it first to stop her. Mifuyu explained that the snack was made of white chocolate, and Oboro apologized for forgetting to mention it to Chisado. It turned out that Chisato could not eat chocolate. Nozomi felt sorry for her, especially since Chisato was part of the food research club but could not enjoy chocolate at all. Eri and Ki wondered why Chisato could not just find a way to deal with her chocolate problem. Chisato thanked Yuki for stopping her earlier. All of a sudden, Hazuki, their teacher, rushed in and said the situation was urgent. Yuki was confused by her sudden entrance, but Hazuki simply grabbed a large glass of beer and drank it, claiming that she would not get drunk that easily. Hazuki then informed them that their club might be disbanded, shocking Yuki and the others. Later that day, a student council meeting was held. Mohaiji, the head of the General Affairs Department, spoke about a recent assault incident. According to the information he had gathered, the problem was connected to harassment of certain students, something even the student council president could not easily resolve. Mohaiji demanded that Yakumo, the student council president, step down and take responsibility, since he was the one who had appointed Yuki as the head of the General Affairs Department. Other council members agreed, but suddenly Satsuki arrived and voiced her objection. She apologized for being late because she had something important to investigate first. Mohaiji was clearly annoyed by her arrival. Satsuki, who served as the head of the finance department, then asked Mohaiji as the head of general affairs if he knew who would take over as student council president in case of an emergency. Mohaiji replied that of course the vice president would take over until the next election. Satsuki followed up by asking whether Mohaiji thought the vice president already had enough experience to handle preparations for the upcoming election, and whether the president should really resign without ensuring a proper election process. Mohaiji countered by bringing up issues of excessive spending in the security department, which was overseen by the president. Satsuki responded by presenting financial records from the General Affairs Department. She explained that she had received the records from an underclassman in General Affairs, and after reviewing them, she discovered several expenses that did not match the reported amounts. Embarrassed, Mohaiji quickly tried to cover the records and insisted that his department had no intention of committing any wrongdoing. Satsuki then suggested that they move on to discussing the incident that had occurred earlier that morning, and Mohaiji reluctantly agreed, preferring to change the topic. Throughout the exchange, Yakumo remained silent and did not defend himself. Rumors about the possible disbandment of many clubs quickly spread throughout the school. Satsuki's plan as the finance department head was to reduce the number of unnecessary clubs, cut funding for clubs with no achievements, and even disband some of them entirely. Reiji, a member of the Action Figure Club, said this was a serious problem for them. Their club required silicone rubber to create models, and they also needed materials to build displays for the cultural festival, which was held twice a year. The Action Figure Club made their products and stored them in a garage, which was why Reiji often earned the nickname Garage. Yuki was curious about a supposed propeller on Reiji's head, but Reiji denied having anything like that. Miyaru explained that the Action Figure Club needed a lot of extra tools and equipment, which were very expensive. Mifu added that the ingredients needed for their own food research club were also costly, meaning they spent quite a lot of money too. Yuki began to realize that since their club had no notable achievements, they would not have much of a case to argue against Satsuki's plan to cut clubs. While they were in the clubroom, Nozomi expressed her frustration, saying she did not want the food research club to be disbanded. Mifuyo reminded her that the plan was not final yet, even if Satsuki became the next president. However, Ei and Ki believed that Satsuki had a strong chance of winning because she was popular, attractive, and very capable. Chisato agreed that nothing had been decided yet, but Hazuki boldly predicted that Satsuki would definitely enforce her plan if she became president because she was a very serious person. Momoro was surprised and asked if Hazuki knew Satsuki well. Hazuki then revealed that Satsuki was actually her younger sister. Uli and Ki were shocked to hear this, especially since Satsuki and Hazuki did not look alike at all. Satsuki was stylish and seemingly perfect, while Hazuki had a different vibe. Chisato asked Hazuki to talk to Satsuki, but Hazuki admitted it was impossible because Satsuki was too stubborn. Uli was unsure what they should do, and Ki suggested supporting a different candidate. In the end, only 3 departments qualified for the first campaign round. The security department had no candidate because their leader was disqualified, which meant they would not participate in the next election. As a result, Satsuki's only opponent would come from the General Affairs Department. Yuki and his friends spotted Mohaiji from the General Affairs Department campaigning nearby. Yuki felt that it might be too much to vote for Mohaiji, who looked as if he was wearing a mask. However, Chisato pointed out that Mohaiji was not wearing a mask at all. He simply was not very handsome. Yuki started to wonder if he was the only one seeing Mohaiji as if he had a mask on, just like how he thought he saw a propeller on Reiji's head the other day. He began to suspect that maybe he was imagining things. Suddenly, Mohaiji approached Yuki and introduced himself. He politely asked Yuki and the others to vote for him as the next student council president and handed them a prepaid cafeteria card. Chisato questioned whether this meant Mohaiji was trying to bribe them. Mohaiji quickly denied it and explained that it was only a small token of appreciation. Before long, other students nearby started calling out to Mohaiji and asked for the same card, and he happily handed more of them out. Shiseto realized that what Mohaiji was doing went against the rules, but Yuki pointed out that it technically wasn't a violation since the official campaign period had not started yet. All of a sudden, a girl came running and couldn't stop in time. She accidentally bumped into Yuki, causing him to fall. Yuki was startled when he realized how close she was as she quickly apologized and asked if he was hurt. Yuki also asked if she was okay. After the girl left, Shiseto noticed the small smile on Yuki's face. It turned out that the girl was likely a scholarship student since she boarded the special bus provided for scholarship recipients. Shiseto guessed that she might also have a part-time job, which could explain why she was in such a hurry. Yuki then noticed a key on the ground, which he assumed might belong to the girl. Later in the club room, Shiseto and the others refused to support Mohaiji because of his questionable tactics. They had all sensed trouble since they did not have a strong candidate of their own to back. Hazuki suggested that one of them should consider running for student council president, but Yuki was unsure if any of them could actually win. Hazuki pointed out that they could either stay silent and do nothing or take a chance, even if the odds were slim. If there were no other options, trying would not hurt. Shiseto agreed because she did not want to just sit around and watch their food research club get disbanded. She even felt excited about the idea of standing up to the finance department. Everyone else shared her determination because they all wanted to protect the club. Mikuru said she would support the plan if Yuki was willing to take the lead. Yuki agreed and encouraged his friends to fight alongside him. The group joined hands in solidarity. After that, Yuki asked which of them would actually run for president, but to his surprise, everyone pointed at him. Meanwhile, Yakumo visited Kana in the hospital. He informed her that the election was about to begin and asked what he should do next. At that moment, Kimika lay quietly, unable to move her body. Yuki wondered why his friends had chosen him to run for student council president. They supported him because he was always willing to help, while Ki reminded him not to back out. Nozomi was ready to support him in any way she could, and Oboro promised to always be there for him. Mifuyu also believed that Yuki was the right person for the job. Yuki admitted that he did not feel qualified to become president, but no one agreed with his doubts. Hazuki pointed out that Yuki was popular because everyone trusted him, yet Yuki felt that people were simply pushing responsibilities onto him. As the head of the food research club, Shiseto insisted that Yuki should run in the election in order to protect their club. Yuki remembered a moment from childhood when he and Shiseto once delivered flowers to a bride at a wedding. Shiseto had playfully asked the bride to attend her own future wedding with Yuki. The bride smiled and said that it seemed like Yuki and Shiseto might already be in love. At that time, neither of them understood what love really meant, and the bride told them they would understand once they grew older. Even now, Yuki still felt uncertain about love, believing it was something he could not quite reach. Shiseto encouraged him to keep trying, telling him that love was closer than he thought. Yuki then woke from a nap to find Shiseto unexpectedly in his room. Still half asleep, he accidentally brushed against her shoulder when he reached out his hand. Startled and embarrassed, he quickly asked why she was there. Shiseto teasingly mentioned that people sometimes talk in their sleep and revealed that Yuki had murmured her name. Flustered, Yuki denied it and tried to change the subject, insisting that he wanted to find the person truly meant for him. Shiseto was confused by his words, while Yuki explained that dreams sometimes felt easier than reality. Shiseto reminded him that they had a Sunday club meeting to discuss the upcoming election, but Yuki refused to attend and even said he might quit the club to avoid becoming a candidate. Meanwhile, Mifuyu and the others reviewed a financial report from the school's accounting department and discovered that the Food Research Club was at the top of the list of clubs scheduled to be disbanded. Ki pointed out that Yuki was the only one who could save the club by becoming student council president and overturning the decision. Shiseto informed them that Yuki had already refused and was thinking about leaving the club. While walking alone to school, Yuki wondered why everyone kept forcing responsibilities onto him. As he was lost in thought, Matsuri came running and accidentally bumped into him before quickly continuing on her way. Soon after, Ayumu passed by and greeted him, followed by Mao, who also offered a cheerful hello. Yuki realized that he had just encountered several girls from Matsuri's group. Moments later, a bicycle came speeding toward him and collided with him. Yuki winced in pain and instinctively apologized, only to be surprised when he recognized the cyclist as Satsuki. He quickly helped straighten her bicycle. Satsuki assured him that he did not need to apologize, admitting that she was also at fault for riding too fast to brake in time. She learned Yuki's name after noticing a dropped name card. Remembering that he needed to return a key to the academy, Yuki became nervous and repeatedly apologized. Satsuki smiled and gently told him that saying sorry too often could make the word lose its meaning. Yuki understood and gave one final sincere apology, which made both of them smile. Before parting, Yuki carefully corrected her on the proper way to pronounce his name, and Satsuki responded with a warm smile, calling him amusing. Elsewhere, Oboro asked Chisato why Yuki wanted to quit the club and why Chisato had not convinced him to stay. Oboro then decided to try persuading Yuki directly and called him. However, instead of a serious conversation, Oboro jokingly teased Yuki with exaggerated claims about their friendship. Yuki chose not to respond to the playful remarks and quickly ended the call. Oboro admitted to herself that she had failed to change his mind. At that time, Yuki passed by the lost and found room and noticed a girl he had met the day before stepping out. He greeted her and returned the key he had picked up earlier. She was delighted and asked where he had found it. Yuki explained that he had discovered it at the spot where they had accidentally bumped into each other. Grateful, the girl revealed that it was the key to her house and expressed relief that he had returned it so quickly. Yuki felt glad as well, realizing it was worth the effort to bring the key back in person. She was surprised that Yuki had come to school on a Sunday, and Yuki mentioned that he had planned to attend a club meeting. When she asked which club he belonged to, he explained that he was in the Food Research Club, which mostly focused on tasting snacks. The girl thought it sounded fun. Yuki asked if she was also attending a club meeting, but she gently explained that scholarship students were not allowed to join clubs at their school. She added that she needed to leave soon to work at a factory. Before leaving, she introduced herself as Isara, a first-year student. Meanwhile, Nozomi was in tears because she could not accept Yuki leaving the club, even saying that she might feel like dying without him. Their friends were shocked to hear such an emotional outburst. Nozomi kept a photo as her phone wallpaper, but it turned out to be just a picture of herself with an Ujima roll. She felt heartbroken, realizing that she might never get to taste Yuki's handmade Ujima rolls again. At that time, Yuki was walking alone, wondering why he kept bumping into so many pretty girls that day and joking to himself that maybe his luck was on the rise. Suddenly, he collided with someone again. Thinking it was yet another chance encounter with a girl, he was surprised to find two male students stopping him instead. They asked if he was from the General Affairs Department or the Finance Department. One of them grabbed Yuki's name card and discovered that he was actually a member of the Food Research Club. Not long after, their leader arrived and ordered them to release Yuki. They turned out to be from the security department. Their leader, Takumo, told them to let Yuki go and remarked that it was unlikely anyone would try to catch him with only a short time left in his current role. The two students apologized for their rough behavior and helped Yuki back to his feet. Yuki understood that they were only concerned about the possibility of violence during the election season. Takumo then asked if Yuki was running for student council president. Yuki explained that he wasn't running by choice and was only being pushed by his friends. Takumo guessed that this was probably an attempt to save the Food Research Club from being shut down. Curious, Yuki asked how Yakumo knew about that. Takumo revealed that he had read Satsuki's financial report, which included the Food Research Club on the list of clubs to be dissolved. Takumo asked if Yuki still refused to run. Yuki admitted that he felt pessimistic, believing someone like him had no chance of winning. Takumo reminded him that if he gave up, the club would definitely be disbanded. He suggested that Yuki either support a candidate he trusted or run as an independent. Since the security department was staying neutral that year and not endorsing anyone, there would only be two main candidates, which created a good opening for Yuki. Takumo even offered his support. Meanwhile, Chisato was stunned that Yuki had disobeyed the club president's instructions. Mifyu believed the best solution was to reconcile with Yuki and bring him back. Just then, Michiru appeared and grabbed a chocolate-flavored snack that Chisato had thrown away. Michiru asked if Chisato disliked chocolate. Chisato replied that Michiru could have it because she wasn't really in the mood for chocolate herself. Michiru casually said the word blue, which made Chisato think she liked blueberries. He felt that they needed to find another plan. Ki suggested working hard to earn achievements, so the club wouldn't be easy to shut down, but Oboro pointed out that earning achievements wasn't so simple. Suddenly, Nozomi proudly showed off a new mixer with a Hyper Tornado design equipped with an extra-long spin and a reverse rotation prevention system. It was, as she called it, the 6th-generation Nero machine. Omura was doubtful that this could count as an official achievement. Nozomi confidently declared that she had perfected it to have zero roughness and believed that Satsuki would hesitate to disband their club after seeing it. Nozomi eagerly tested the machine, barely able to contain her excitement about the results. Later, while buying a drink from a vending machine, Yuki noticed Satsuki struggling with something and went over to help. Once again, Satsuki mispronounced Yuki's name and even added Pico, teasing that he always bowed so often it reminded her of the sound. Her bicycle chain had come off and she was frustrated because she had a busy day ahead. Yuki offered to fix it, and after a bit of effort, the chain was back in place. Satsuki handed him a handkerchief since his hands were now dirty and thanked him for his help. As they walked together down the corridor, Yuki shared that he had been asked to run for student council president. To his surprise, Satsuki said that it was worth trying. Yuki then asked why she planned to disband the Food Research Club. Satsuki explained that the club's activities felt more like a group of close friends hanging out in the cafeteria drinking tea, which she believed did not meet the proper standards for an official school club. Yuki admitted that her reasoning wasn't wrong. Satsuki was surprised that he agreed so calmly. Yuki explained that he and the other members loved their club and wanted to keep it alive, which was why they would rather fight in the election than just sit and watch it fade away. He confessed that his decision to run was reckless and that he knew he had little chance of winning. Satsuki then asked if he knew the term used for racehorses that win competitions. Yuki answered, the strongest horses, but that wasn't what she meant. Satsuki explained that winning horses are simply the ones that actually compete. Horses that never race will never have a chance to win, and the same applied to elections. She added that she enjoyed watching people give their all, even when they knew the odds were against them. Yuki was deeply moved by her words. Satsuki hurried off to take care of her other errands, and Yuki felt truly grateful that she had listened to his worries despite her busy schedule. Yuki went to the food research club and was shocked to see how messy the club room had become. His friends were relieved and happy to see him back. Curious about the situation, Yuki asked what had actually happened. Chisato explained that everyone had been feeling restless and uneasy because Yuki hadn't been around. After that, they all worked together to clean up the room. Yuki admitted that he had been thinking about something important. He had decided to fight for the Food Research Club's survival. Since he wanted to run as a candidate for the Student Council president, he was determined to seriously aim for victory. He also didn't want his friends to push this heavy responsibility onto him without truly believing in it. Because of that, Yuki suggested holding an internal club vote so everyone could freely choose the person they believed had the best chance of winning the election. Hazuki agreed that this was the best way to decide, and everyone else supported the idea. Chisato quickly handed out pieces of paper so each member could write down their choice. Before the vote began, Yuki wanted to say a few words. He admitted that the Food Research Club had been a little too relaxed lately, spending most of their time eating snacks bought with club funds and gossiping. To outsiders, it probably looked like the club was useless and unproductive, and that might be why the school considered shutting it down. Yuki said that despite what others might think, the club was precious to him. Thanks to the club, he had met all of them, shared fun times, and created memories filled with laughter. He didn't want to lose something so meaningful. He asked everyone to think carefully and choose the person who had the best chance to win, someone they truly wanted to support. Yuki also reminded them that leadership required courage, decisiveness, and a strong presence. He hoped they would pick someone capable of securing victory. When the voting ended, the results showed that Chisato received 1 vote while Yuki won by a landslide. Everyone cheered in excitement. Yuki was completely confused and wondered if they hadn't heard his speech, since he had secretly hoped they would choose Chisato instead. However, his heartfelt words had inspired the others and convinced them that Yuki would fight the hardest to protect the club. Realizing this, Yuki felt as though he had unknowingly set himself up. Chisato gently told him to accept the fair result with humility. Later, Yuki walked home with her. Along the way, Chisato mentioned that Yuki should simply follow through with what he had said earlier. When they passed a small shop, Chisato stopped to buy some chocolate from a stand near the sidewalk. After arriving home, she cut the chocolate in half and offered 1 piece to Yuki. Chisato looked delighted when Yuki happily enjoyed the treat. That day, Chisato announced that their club room would serve as the campaign headquarters, and she volunteered to be a campaign chair. Everyone was excited to take on this new mission and started discussing what they wanted to do for the election campaign. Hazuki, being a teacher, could not directly help them, but at least she could give advice. Yuki had already submitted his registration form, which meant they were officially entering a campaign stage. Chisato and the others were full of energy, but they were unsure what to do first. Hazuki explained that as part of the Student Council president election, the school would hold a preliminary round before the official voting. Anyone who failed to pass the preliminary round would not be able to run in the final election. It was essentially a stage where minority candidates would be eliminated. Since Yuki was considered a minority candidate, he asked everyone to think of ways to prevent that from happening. Hazuki told them that Yuki needed at least 10% of the votes to pass the preliminary round, which meant they needed around 600 votes just to qualify. Yuki wondered how they could possibly gather 600 votes. Chisato thought maybe they could present a solid financial report. Oboro suggested they might need to win people's sympathy. Some members brought up ideas like increasing club budgets, doubling the Food Research Club's funding, offering snack allowances, and even joking about things like alcohol. Oboro argued that giving out allowances could lead to misuse of funds, so he proposed offering free snacks instead. Unfortunately, Yuki pointed out that those were just sweet campaign promises, and he wouldn't win with a financial report like that. The bigger issue was that none of them had real knowledge or experience in running a campaign. Suddenly, Yakumo entered the clubroom and Nozomi was overjoyed to see him. Nozomi and Yakumo had not met in a long time, as Yakumo used to be her classmate back in their first year. Shiseto was surprised to learn that Yuki also knew Yakumo. It turned out Yakumo had come to the Food Research Club to discuss Yuki's candidacy. He asked if they would be willing to accept help from the security department for Yuki's campaign. Everyone was shocked by the unexpected offer. Yuki asked why Yakumo had chosen him in particular. Before Yakumo could answer, Oboro jokingly claimed that if Yakumo had come to claim Yuki's body, he was too late because Yuki already belonged to him from head to toe. Yuki quickly told Oboro to stop making such jokes. Hazuki suspected that Yakumo was looking for something in return, and Yakumo admitted it. The security department didn't want to lose their standing to either the finance department or the general affairs department. Nozomi wondered why they couldn't just wait and run next year. Yakumo explained that an election is usually won by the party already in power, and once authority is handed over, it's extremely difficult to regain it. Shiseto began to understand that if Yuki managed to win this election, all three departments would be on equal footing next year. Yuki asked again why Yakumo had chosen him when there were other candidates. Yakumo revealed that Yuki actually had a good chance of making it through the preliminary round. Yakumo explained that Satsuki's recent financial report had been leaked, and his research showed that the finance department's support had dropped by 10%. The decline was due to Satsuki putting too much pressure on financial aid reforms, but the main reason was the controversial plan to reform the school clubs. Many clubs were about to face budget cuts, and they were already opposing the reforms. If Yuki's team openly showed that they opposed the club reforms, they could gain the support of those clubs. The Food Research Club itself was on the list of clubs scheduled to be dissolved, which meant that a candidate who spoke out against the reforms would quickly gain backing. Oboro pointed out that if the General Affairs Department acted first, they would be the ones to collect those votes. Yakumo responded that the General Affairs Department planned to launch the real campaign only after the preliminary round and would later release a financial report to attack Satsuki's weaker positions. Hazuki asked how the votes would look in numbers. Yakumo estimated that by combining the votes of clubs opposing the reforms with the support of the security department, they could secure around 400 votes. The remaining 200 would still need to be gathered elsewhere. Oboro felt confident they could manage that if they reached out to friends for help. Nozomi, who knew a lot of people, promised she could bring in many votes, while Shiseto and Mifyu were sure they could handle the task as well. The key was that they could realistically reach 400 votes if they worked with the security department. Yuki realized that they couldn't handle everything on their own. Shiseto asked about the kind of partnership Yakumo was offering, especially since the security department was currently under operational review. Yakumo explained that he couldn't lend them any members but could share his knowledge and expertise. Yuki looked very interested in the proposal. Shiseto reminded everyone that both sides would benefit from the arrangement, so there was no need for exaggerated promises. Yuki cautioned Shiseto not to act overly proud towards someone offering help, but Shiseto pointed out that Yakumo was not doing this out of pure goodwill. It was possible that Yakumo wanted to create a puppet administration under Yuki. Yakumo acknowledged that it was natural for them to be cautious and offered a cooperation contract valid only until the preliminary round ended. If they grew to trust him, they could then extend the agreement. In the end, they all agreed to work together, and Yakumo promised not to let Yuki and the others down. Yakumo shook hands with every member of the Food Research Club as a sign that their cooperation was officially beginning. He looked forward to working together. Hazuki reminded him not to involve her students in any conflicts and asked Yakumo to look after them, since they were all good kids. Yakumo explained that the financial report strategy should be used as the final move because no one would pay attention to the report of a weak candidate. What they needed first was at least 600 votes to pass the preliminary round, and to achieve that, they had to present a standout policy protecting the school clubs. As the first step, Yakumo asked Yuki to visit the clubs that were on the disbandment list and request their support. Yuki immediately agreed, but Yakumo suggested he bring along a female member since some clubs had many male members, and it would help to have a girl smiling and making the request. Yuki's plan was solid because he was naturally skilled in campaigning. Yuki then asked who among them would join him, but everyone hesitated because there were 100 clubs to visit.